Hello, Vault Dwellers. Welcome back to another review of the Fallout television show. Today, we're going to be taking a look at episode number 3 called The Head. I am a Fallout superfan. I've played all the games, even Fallout 76. You don't have to. These videos serve as a review for me and a way to kind of talk to you all about my thoughts on the show. I'll look at keynotes. I'll look at fun little facts and Easter eggs from the video game. We'll do that a little bit later in the video. I'll recap the episode, and I'll talk about the extended universe as a whole. So if you like what you see, subscribe for more. Super easy. This week, we see Lucy putting a tracker inside of Wilzig's head. She shoves it right up his nose with a rubber hose, as they would say, and nibbles on some Yum Yum deviled eggs. Yum Yum deviled eggs are a food in the game. They actually give you 15 health at the cost of 5 rad. So for me, it's not a very good trade-off, but it does add to more of the consistency and the excitement in the universe that they are still drawing in elements from the game, which is really, really cool. And in a couple different places too, her Pip-Boy starts going off like crazy as it's picking up various radiation, whether it be from standing water, from the ghoul, or from other things that she stumbles across, which I think is also a really nice touch. You know, when you're playing Fallout, you're constantly walking around and you hear that distinct Geiger counter crackle, which is really, really cool. Maximus this week has to pull a tooth out to get just one more cap to get a part of his suit fixed. And interestingly enough, he decides to leave his suit behind when he goes back into the town again. I am not sure why he did this. I mean, clearly for the sake of drama, but like it was kind of an odd move on his part. I mean, I would expect that from Lucy or from one of the more naive Vault Dwellers, but not from somebody like him who's grown up in this horrible environment. He literally smashes some heads and is able to repair the suit just in time to meet Thaddeus. Now, if you remember, Thaddeus in the first episode was one of the more pronounced villains that beat him up quite a bit when he was starting to come into his own. And there's a lot of really weird dynamic that those two have, because Thaddeus obviously doesn't know that Maximus is pretending to be Titus in the suit. But he's, and he's very obedient as a squire. He's very, very obedient to the Brotherhood of Steel. So if you ask him a question like, why did you do this? Or why are you happy? Or why are you sad? He'll just completely answer you totally honestly, forthcomingly. There's a couple like hazing scenes in there where they ask him to go climb a tree to get an apple. There's no apple on the tree, falls off, and he's running behind with this big sack full of loot, which honestly, thinking about it, playing through the game, you're carrying a lot of stuff. I mean, pounds and pounds and pounds of stuff. So I think it is actually kind of funny to think that this could actually be reality. If you did think of like a companion in the Fallout games, you're off going, you got your big power armor, you're having all the fun, making all the decisions, looting all the things, eating all the food, and behind you is your companion dragging a giant duffel bag full of guns and stim packs and all the other crap that you pick up along your adventure. So I thought that was really, really funny. That was a really nice little touch to see the Squire so part of this episode. And now knowing that Thaddeus and Maximus have that kind of bond in a weird way, I'll be curious to see how that dynamic folds. But it was very fun to watch them on screen. Definitely, I thought that was definitely one of the highlights of the show. Of course, things go awry again. The head gets lost again. It has to, because that's the way this would work. If Lucy walks straight up to return the head to find her father, it wouldn't be a very good show now, would it? She actually stumbles across a gulper. I'll talk a little bit more about gulpers in a moment in the Easter egg section. But the ghoul who stumbles across her, stumbling across the gulper, basically uses her as bait. And he's willing to torture Lucy to get what he needs. He's clearly not very attentive to dog meat, which, as we've talked about on every episode of the show, is a sin. You have to be a friend of dog meat. But he has no loyalty. The ghoul has no loyalty to anyone. He has no soft spot for anybody. And he is just there solely to get what he needs to get and to leave. Unfortunately, during when the gulper gets a little more aggressive and kind of gets snagged and he's like trying to breach himself and get on the shore, Lucy takes takes the bag actually of all the ghoul's jet and mentats and all the other dope that he's taking, all that stuff that he's huffing and grinding up and snorting, even though he doesn't have a nose. And she smacks the gulper with it, and it destroys everything, which really, really ticks him off. Rather though than him like trying to continue to get the head, again, kind of a weird TV show decision, he just decides to abandon the mission. He's just like, okay. He actually makes a quote in there, a funny quote about side quests. He says, "The wasteland has its own golden rule. Thou shalt not get sidetracked by bullshit every goddamn time." Clearly making a joke to the Fallout universe. If you go to do one thing and you find 600 other things along the way, well, this is just like that. But for whatever reason, he just stops. The head gets away, the gulper gets away, and he doesn't care. He just leaves. Thankfully, later on, Maximus shows up again. I mean, this guy's like the idiot savant of idiot savants. And he actually able to recover the head. So he now has the head. The ghoul and Lucy are far, far away. But not to be outdone, the final scene of this episode, probably one of the most impactful scenes of the show, at least for me. A really cool little nod to some lore and a great transition into the Easter egg section is we find out that in his former life, the ghoul was actually a famous actor who did the original promotional material for Vault-Tec. And that infamous picture of the Pip-Boy smiling, giving a thumbs up, that was him. That was him doing that. And it was such a cool moment. It reminded me a lot of Lost, where you had this really cool kind of reveal that was just told in such a beautiful way as you're watching flashbacks of him walk by this old studio, flashbacks to him and his kid at a happier time. Something to him was meaningless as just, hey, yeah, I'll do a quick promotional ad to get a sponsorship, and then I go back and film my movie. Actually is one of the most iconic images in all of the Fallout universe, the Pip-Boy, or I should say the Vault Boy. And I thought that was a really, really cool thing. Now, they have said before that this is a canon-friendly show, and it does feed into the world of Fallout. So is it nice? Is it safe to say that Walton Goggins is now forever embroidered in a Fallout universe? Well, I'll leave that up for you guys to decide. As I wrap up today's video, go over a couple of fun Easter eggs with you guys, things I noticed. The gulper that we saw was actually first introduced during the DLC Far Harbor. That was in Fallout 4. And just like in that game, when you killed him, he actually spewed out random junk that you could collect as well on top of his guts, which Maximus basically just pulled out of his body. He just kind of like flopped, like basically like ripped his esophagus out essentially. So that was really cool. We saw a interesting, it kind of confirmed what I had mentioned last week, that some of the vaults are actually roped off in this universe instead of all being separated. We find out that they are part of the triangle. So Vault 31, 32, and 33 are all connected together. They'll have trade routes together. They're all kind of independent from one another, but also behind the big wall to the outside. There's a lot of discussion about, well, did the other vaults fall? Are we still safe? And we clearly find out that Vault 31 is A-OK. 33 is obviously going through some hardship, and 32 is basically gutted entirely by the Raiders, which are now in a modified jail. They didn't really have jails then. Like, you really think when they're building the vault, I guess they assumed everybody, due to the personality tests, would be swell and there wouldn't be any reason for internal police or security or whatever. You saw the security, but interesting that they hadn't thought through of a jail. I think that is maybe me overreacting or thinking more into it than it needs to be, but maybe a kind of thought process towards that society was meant to be perfect back then. You wouldn't really need to have a jail. So food for thought. The water chip was destroyed. That's the whole plot of the original Fallout. Your water chip gets destroyed in your vault, and you have to venture out into the unknown to secure a new one. It's the whole reason you left. I love that they made that little reference to the water chip being bad. Obviously, by the characters today, it has importance. They don't have water, they'll die. But for super fans, it's definitely a nod to the old stuff. That was everything I thought of episode 3, The Head. This show only gets better each episode I watch. I can't wait to watch the next one and come back and chat with you guys about everything I saw. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.